14th. And 7:15, we have a public hearing at 39 Woodside Street, it's number 1404. And then we have 7:30, continuing public hearing for Marion Way.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
So, years.
And we have Mr. Del Sal here that's would like to talk to us regarding property on Central Street. What's the number?
I think it's it's a house at Burn. I think it's 112. Swear.
112 the house at Brown.
Yes.
It's not on the agenda.
No, okay.
It's not on the agenda. So, you all had a chance to read the minutes?
Yep.
We have a motion to approve the minutes as printed.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. We'll give a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We don't have it during the 7:15. Okay, so why don't you come up here and just give us a rundown what you want to do, what you want to know.
The house at Burn on Central Street. I just coming in here tonight informally. I believe it's about 17 feet from the road. And if this deal goes through, demolish the house and put a smaller one there and set it back from the road.
What is that, back from the road?
Yes.
How far back?
I could put it back 30 feet, whatever.
How big is the lot? Is it awful
It's a small lot.
Very small. You still got room for a septic tank, septic
Most-
system.
Goes back a little bit. That house takes up a lot of width.
Stu, is the change in the footprint just gonna be in the depth? Is it gonna be made wider too?
It would be narrower,
It'll be narrower.
yes, but that footprint would be moved back some.
It'd be great if you could get the, could you go as far back as 50? Was it about a quarter acre? Is that small or less? Less?
Go back 50 feet, you'll have to put the septic tank. That's
On the laws.
Is that in the central district?
Excuse me?
Is that in the central district or is it in the outlying district?
Central, it's right down here.
It's the central. Setback. Is that 60-foot setback? 50-foot setback?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's all like that. That's fine. It's not district specific. We can, when we see a plan, we can work around. It wouldn't have to be 50, but it would be a lot easier if it was.
Because by right, he could build right in the same footprint now.
Right.
He wouldn't even have to move it.
Right, but he's saying that that's
Trying to
gonna
make
change.
it better, yeah.
If you can make it better, that's just gonna make it easier.
I just came in here and asked what would be required. I'll have something concrete for your next meeting.
A clear plot plan, Stu. Clear plot plan with all dimensions. Any additional outbuildings gonna be put on the property? Garage or anything? Or is the one there now? I don't know what's there. I
There's
don't
no
know.
garage now, it's a two-family now.
It's a two-family house.
It's spread out,
What are you planning to build, a single family?
yes.
Just a single family,
It's something smaller, set back.
setback?
It'd be better, it would be better for both the letters. That lot line right now goes right to Larry White's foundation of his house, that driveway they both use. So, we have to file I wanna say 85F, something like that. So, he has a legal right away there, I want to protect him also. Last time it was surveyed was like 1894. So it's, well, my son and I put it under agreement, I believe, last July. Here it is, 11 months later. Been one mess, 3 attorneys involved.
Oh, jeez.
As a result of an inadequate survey? Is that the?
No.
The lady that thought she owned it,
Oh,
she only owned about 55%. So her brother's son had to be tracked down. Her 2 nephews that lived there come in for the mother's share, and a 3rd nephew was deceased. His estate had to be probated. And every time you think you're ready, there's something else pops up.
yeah, yeah.
I knew now what I knew then what I know now.
Probably look good.
Ran the other way.
Yeah. So you're at a point though, however, where I guess you're about to close on it. You hope.
We want some, we need some permits in place before we close.
So it's contingent upon those,
Excuse me?
the sale's gonna be contingent on the permits?
Right.
Okay, so you're looking for some relief from us.
Not tonight, I just,
Yeah, but you're looking for relief from us.
to see, I'll be in the next meeting with some plans and see what you gentlemen approve and not approve.
Yeah, okay.
What's your window still? Because if you're, are you gonna give us an application at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Because we can review it. I don't know that we would decide it necessarily, but we might. And then the soonest we would draft a decision would be another 30 days.
I understand.
Does that work? I mean, is that
Yes.
still in your time schedule?
Yes, it'll have to be, because it's been this long now, there's another year to go into the grandfather laws, and, yeah, that'll work, because, I think we nailed down the agreement. Then we have 3 or 4 months to get, 3 months to get permits.
But he wouldn't have to worry about the grandfather clause because it was tied up in the litigation, it had nothing to do with construction.
No, I'm just thinking that he's gonna need a permit for relief from us, so we're
Yeah.
gonna have to have adequate data in-house so we can legitimately make a decision, craft a decision and make it available, that's all. And if he said, I wanna start building July 15, that would be hard to do.
What is your cutoff date for the application? For the next meeting?
Another week and a half, okay?
For the July,
For July's meeting.
For the July meeting.
If you can get an application in your plot plan,
yes, in the house located.
within the next week,
Okay.
or 10 days, whatever it is. So we can advertise it for July.
Then we can hold a valid hearing.
Then
Okay.
Then we can hold the hearing.
If you miss it, we can still look at your plans, but we can't hold a hearing.
If you miss it, I miss it, I have to get ready for your
August.
August meeting.
Right,
Okay.
and that you would have the month of July to prepare.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Nice to.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes, yes, how you doing?
1 o'clock, you missed out on the phone.
Shut that door,
There's only
please.
3 attorneys involved in that.
No, I don't know.
Oh, is it- oh, are they serious? The complicated ones and the fun ones are, in all seriousness.
Well, sometimes.
Depending on what they're doing.
Yeah, you should.
Or they kind of fall.
I think I've seen this one before.
Differences with all these things.
Yeah.
Please, did you have to solicit this stuff, or were they forthcoming?
Oh, I always have to solicit it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of the protocol.
You mean after you write it, you have to remind?
No, I don't have to remind them.
Oh, that's what I meant,
Yeah,
solicit.
no, I give them a copy of the application and
Okay,
request their comments and they get it right.
good.
Yeah, I also too probably getting into it because I tell them I need to make some changes.
Yeah, not knowing the exact light on the property since 1894. I guess we're there.
Well, you're okay here, but you're not okay here.
I am.
All set. Public hearing. Public hearing application number 14.04 from Richard and Judy Shonwall for a variance at 39 Hillside Street is now open. Are you with Shonwall?
I am.
Okay. We only have the applicant, so I'm not gonna go through all this other stuff that we need to go through. Is there any member of the board conflict of interest in this case?
Nope, nope.
No. Okay,
We didn't see it.
okay, public notice for the application is posted at the town hall, sent to a certified list of parties and interest, and was published in the town common on June 11th and June 18th, which is as follows. A public hearing will be held at the Town Hall, Annex 39 Central Street on Thursday, June 19th at 7:15 p.m. to act on an application received 6.2.14 from Richard and Judy Shonwall at 39 Hillside Street, Raleigh, Mass. The applicant requested variance from the Board of Appeals for a deck from the requirements of section 6.1.3.1 the Raleigh Protective Zone bylaws. The property is located at 39 Hillside Street, Raleigh, Mass. The property is in the residential district and is shown as Assessors Map 19, Parcel 2, Lot 9. Okay, Mr. Shonwall, you want to come forward and
Sure.
tell us what you want to do?
Sure. I can give you the long story, but I'll give you the short story.
That's fine.
We moved here 15 years ago. probably most of you weren't involved, we had a difficult time, we had a septic system that didn't perk, I have the most expensive septic system in Raleigh now. Anyway, there was supposed to be a deck that was built at the same time, it didn't happen, and so finally we're at a place where we can put a deck in, and it happened that when we kind of laid it out, I was like, gee, this looks close to the border. And so then I went back to the guys who had done the work, Atlantic Engineering, and just say, how close is this? And as you can see, it's kind of right on the line. And so I was like, well, gee, we could just cut it short. But it was like, you know what, we've waited a long time for this. My wife's like, you know, this is a pretty small deck as it is. You know, it would be nice to have it the way I had wanted it 15 years ago. So, so you might kind of wonder why. Gee, we're kind of right on the line. I wanted to do things the right way, so that's why I submitted the application. I'm looking for a 1 foot variance. You might say it's silly and stupid. And I say, well, I'm just trying to do things the right way. You know, I'm not asking for much, but and interestingly enough, the neighbor whose land he's the one who's building the deck for me. You know, Butchie. So anyway, he clearly doesn't have any issues with it. And as you can see from the colored pictures, it's pretty, you know, as far as how, you know, there's a fence, there's a bunch of trees. He wouldn't know if it was within 2 feet of his property, but.
Well, I would, I was gonna say, I would thank you on your point about doing it right, because you could certainly have chosen to say, 6, 8, 10, 12 inches, and no one would probably notice. But in the event of a sale, it would have been found to have been in violation, and the lender has been known to say,
Right.
either take it down, you know, or we're not doing the deal. So you did the right thing.
And it's not a variance, it's a special permit.
Right.
It's a special permit, not a variance.
Okay.
Much easier.
Much easier. A variance is extremely difficult to get. And it's only, and the law wants it kept, courts anyway want it kept as difficult as possible.
Okay.
But it's a special permit,
Okay.
which is easy,
Excellent.
easier.
So it's actually only the corner of it that's gonna be
Correct.
Tiny corner.
6
And
inches.
I'm not sure if you've ever had discussions with your spouses about these things. I said, well, why don't we just cut it off? And my wife was kind of like, you know, it's not what I envisioned when we said we were gonna have a deck here. And so I said, well, we'll request it the way.
Okay, is this, you're gonna have access from the outside or just from the house?
There's a
Steps.
fence, but, yeah, there's,
There's a railing, but there's gonna be steps on
You just have to walk out to the back.
access to the yard.
yeah.
Right next to the open porch. Okay, how big is the deck?
12 by 16.
12 by 16. Oh, there it is. Proposed deck, 12 by 16.
Well, I don't, the neighbor's comfortable with it. I don't have any issue.
I don't have any problem either.
No. No, it's probably a nice addition to your living space, gives you, take advantage of the outdoors. Why wouldn't you want to do it? Improves the property, your neighbors okay with that.
Any problem is what? The 14.7?
Yeah.
14.7. 3/10 of a foot
Nice comment with the grill.
Yeah, right.
Don't think that I didn't already say these things. And
Explore
again-
all those things.
Yeah, and again, sometimes people have certain ideas about things, and I said, you know what, I'll do my best to see if we can make that happen.
That's what you really want. That's what you really want.
Is your plan to build as soon as you can?
This summer, yeah.
I would just make you aware that in the event, once a decision is drafted and signed and then submitted to the town clerk, there's a 20-day appeal period.
Mhm.
Technically speaking, if someone learns of it between now and that time, they have 20 days to officially say, wait a minute, I didn't know. Just so you're aware.
Sure.
I don't imagine anybody's interested in it to be concerned.
I can't imagine either.
And if they are,
And probably,
go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, the only other interested party is the builder, and he's getting paid to do it, so he's.
Yeah. He could certainly, I guess if I didn't pay him, this would be somebody getting over my head.
You know, he's got a vested interest, but
Yeah.
outside of that, I think no one else.
And
Plus you use
he's
the
really got to
Right.
want to spend money to appeal it, because he's gonna have to go to Superior Court.
Wow. Yep.
Well, I'm good.
I'm
We're
good.
gonna make a motion, you want a motion?
Yeah, what,
6131.
make a motion 6131, we'll, give him a special permit for his deck, which is at, 12 by, 16 feet. And there's nobody here objecting, seems very reasonable.
Yeah, there's some special permit.
Yep.
A second?
I would, for a, sorry, I would say that, there's no part of the deck approach, be at least 14 feet away.
Yeah. Right. Give him a little, give him a little space,
14 feet away.
14 feet.
Agree to that, Billy?
Unless you make a mistake.
So we made the motion and you seconded it? Yes, sir. Motion made, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
There'll be a decision drafted and signed for our July meeting, which is July 17th. And we'll register typically with the town clerk the following Monday usually,
Okay.
from that Thursday.
In terms of getting a building permit, do I need to wait until?
If you would like, the board would be willing to draft, a statement to the building inspector indicating our action tonight.
Okay.
And provide you with that, you can get that from Lisa sometime next week.
Okay.
And then I'm sure Ken will say mine, as long
Okay.
as I know. So you could go forward with the building.
Thank you very much. Thanks for as a rally rep, thank you for all that you guys do. It's a beautiful evening and perhaps
Hopefully you enjoy it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is just, because I think we should read this so that the rest of the board knows it, rather than up in the middle of the sentence. Any, since we're gonna talk about what
1, 2, 3. I mean, I can read it, you can read it, whichever. It'll be easier to instead of listening. Alright, so we're done with this. Done with that.
Thank you, man.
We had a conference call with Keith Meadow. Excuse me, let me back up here. Okay, we're now on 7:30, case number 10.06, Marion Way. Continue hearing. Now open. Tom and I talked to Keith Meadow the other day, yesterday actually, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Just on a conference call. And a couple of quick points and 3 key questions. What I'm reading is what we did yesterday. As a result of our recent CBA meeting on May 15th, we find that there is still some outstanding feedback from Worsley and Whitman engineering firm regarding reaction to the applicant's new proposed changes to the most recent set of plans. This notwithstanding, we also do not have an actual status in the Conservation Commission as to its current position on the most recent proposed route. So there is still some ambiguity around what role the groundwater engineering is still being discussed by applicants and H&W would play in our plans to move forward. Wait a little more. Also, back in March, I believe Lisa did send the then newest plan, which is essentially what exists now to all town departments. For further comment, to date, we've had no responses. Relevant or not at this point. We have original feedback, but it is 3 years old at this time. It's actually 4 years old. Lastly, we did receive a record of parcel. There are many copies of deeds and transfers of multiple ownerships to the Conference Trust. Our board, resident attorney Robert Poole, noted it appeared in order to really verify if all parcels have been properly transferred and recorded, there ought to be a title search done. The board cannot see how it could act regardless of direction without knowing for sure if all the parcels are in fact under control of the trust who applies it owns them. A title search seems like a good idea. Do you believe we should undertake this? We only have 3 questions. 2 of the 3 subject areas remain to appear to be significant issues at this time. 1, right of first refusal, and 2, applicant's eligibility and final board action. Let me briefly update you on the May 15th. Number 1, May 15th, May 19th meeting produced a new PNS agreement. It carries an expiration date of 12/31/14. Our question about FORF was debated by the board. It is essentially this. Chapter 61 language suggests that the applicant must allow to the town the option to buy since the land is in the trust. It seems to the board that without a clear decision by the town to pass on its right of first refusal, any actions by the board could easily simply become viewed as a purchase by the town within the possibility of the development of occurring. Question, should the board require this action before proceeding further? Thinking so, we have asked the applicant to initiate this process. In hindsight, not sure why we or the applicant would not have acted on this material. Thoughts, please. The town has previously been and is currently mostly disposed to conservation based on acquisitions conversation in early April, it was questioned whether the actual whole 40B eligibility needs to be the applicant or not. As you know, the applicant here is actually the development. The Frank Buchanan Corporation does our applications still meet the requirements of the board to act based on the fact that this stated applicant is not 40B eligible by the board. As you know, this may mark the fourth year this case has been before the board. We have all debated the merits of different actions. Given the history, the above current issues, and the seeming urgency of the applicant, are there sufficient grounds for the board to otherwise simply conclude it is tired of the entire process, its constant modification, demonstration of facts and frequent inaction, that it moves to inform the applicant, as stated, that the board will take action based on what it now knows, or one way or the other at its true meaning. It would be, in my opinion, that mine only, this was Tom's right, that the likely vote would result in denial of the application. Is that borne out? Do you believe the board would take this action, issue a denial, craft a sufficiently strong decision that would likely stand up to the deal? The board believes that the applicant, who has stated as much, seeks this project so that the ready access to other land which they own can be developed at a later date. Because of this, the board believes the ultimate action of the applicant will be to find a way to accomplish this project, but it remains difficult for the eyes of the board to believe the board will end up getting the answer. Please advise me again to refer to the major conference call for you, Ron, and I, with Lisa, and your meetings. So that's what we sent to okay, talk to one.
In our conversation, then, in which she responded, by and large, to these questions, she essentially said the following. The whole issues surrounding the Horsley and Witten groundwater are not really a necessary criteria for the board to be concerned about. It's an element that the applicant has to get settled with the Conservation Commission until, regardless, if we were to issue an approval and the Conservation Commission said, yeah, but you can't still do it this way, he'd have to work it out with them. We don't really have any need to worry about doing that issue. The whole notion, feedback from other departments is probably useful but not critical, given the length of the term that the thing has been out there. And even though it's changed somewhat dramatically since we originally saw the application, there doesn't appear to be a dramatic need to worry about getting current reviews of all of the information, even though Lisa sent out. As it relates to the title search, which I still find a surprising element, because it would be room for anybody, and with all due respect, I'm not suggesting this is the case, to tell a board they own property and the board doesn't know that they own the property, and yet a board could act on it. She says, not your problem. Title search is something that needs to be done by the applicant to prove that he in fact owns the property. We don't have to worry about whether or not what he represents to us is factually accurate. So there's not a need to engage in a title search. Okay, to me, it seems like, a builder going in asking the building inspector to approve building, and the guy doesn't really own the house, and he's not going to comply with anything he says he's going to do. I don't know, but that's the position she said. As it relates to the notion of the Chapter 61 language, She referred us back to town council and Judy Pickett to go into that. She says she's not as clear on that as she would like to be. It's not really her area, but as it relates to the right of first refusal, she said, again, to me, that's something that should have cleared the decks a long time ago, because it seems like it could be acquired at any point, at which point it makes all of the work this board and any other board would do null and void if the town were to elected to choose to purchase that. She told us that it needed to be done once there is an effective P&S. We have an effective P&S. We have a P&S that's totally contingent on execution by this board granting approvals. If the board doesn't grant approvals, that P&S basically goes away. And the buyer who is listed as the applicant is not bound by it. So at that point, the whole deal goes away, basically. It's contingent on this whole thing. As it relates to the eligibility issue, under the fact that the applicant is not the actual holder of the 40B eligibility letter, the trust is the holder of the eligibility letter, and the trust is noted as the owner of the property, but the trust is not noted, as you know, as the applicant for this project. So there's some question about, she couldn't answer that. She asked me to send her, which I've done, a follow-up email restating what was stated here, that there's some question about that, and that she would go to Mass Housing to get a formal clarification from them. That fact, in addition to all of the other facts that we talked about, there are still a few things missing that we want to address in the hearing, that we want to talk to John about in terms of where we want to go forward, how we want to go forward. But relative to the issues that we had here, doesn't look like we need to be concerned about too many of them. The only one that's still out there for further feedback is the one regarding who the applicant should have actually been. Because it doesn't show the developer as a co-owner. Sounds like it could have been a co-owner, but I don't think Mr. Frangos is a co-owner. He's in no way an owner of the property. He's a prospective buyer, that's all. So that's a question for Mass Housing to answer for us. Whether that could technically, I don't know what that will change. I don't know if it'll change anything. It might not. I think there are things that we can all come away with once we're said and done here. I think the next steps are going to be, over the next 90 days, our conversation suggested that we would like to wrap up the application process and get a decision in place pretty soon.
Right.
So that's what transpired from Edie. We're going to wait for that one final piece of information for her. That's where we stand as a result of the last meeting.
Is it a legal application?
That's what she's going to tell us then.
All this time would have been wasted.
What's that?
All this time would have been wasted.
Well, to me, I think there's a number of issues here that probably, in hindsight, you would have thought could have been addressed in a different order. And might have abbreviated time both on John's part and the trust part, and perhaps on our part. There's a lot of variables here that I think we can consider, but she indicated that once we move forward, and I'm deliberately not speaking directly to how we're going to move forward, because the chairman is going to do that, that she will assist us with drafting whatever decision the board chooses to make. And once we do that, I think we'll be able to get the case wrapped up. So I think the question is what we're going to do for John, not at this meeting, but as of our next meeting.
Okay, all right, John, we had talked about 61A and so forth, and what have you done about it?
We had our attorney look at it, and the trust wanted to make sure, in the event the town buys it, the property, that they would have access to the balance of their land. So our attorney did some research on it, and he said that if we prepare a plan showing the land that the town would buy with a contingency to construct a street through it to the backland. And he said we could do it, and I have finished preparing a plan on that. I just emailed it to him this afternoon, and it appears that that's a probability, that if the town buys it, the owner, or the applicant would still have the ability to construct a street through the property to access the backlands.
I mean, if I were you, I would want the same option if I were thinking about, protecting my potential investment in the rest of the property. I'm struck, though, that creates yet another course of events. And Evie made it sound like we almost don't need to wait for the right of first refusal. The board can act without you having taken action. So I think, depending upon what we choose to do, that you'll have a couple of paths in front of you. That may be one of them.
Yeah.
Because I would have thought that, again, would have been something that we had from the beginning. Here, town of Rowley, if you happen to be interested, we do want this proviso. We want the street looking like this, made this way. Made as part of that purchase, and that's a whole nother variable. I don't think we want to wait for that kind of feedback.
Right, I don't think the town would buy it.
Would buy it that way.
Would buy it that way.
Conservation, roadway.
Right.
As far as Chapter 61 goes, we're planning to submit an application to the Board of Selectmen, as is required by law, and we plan to do that early next week. And they'll have 120 days to act on it. We'll take care of that, like I said, early next week. We have been working on a couple of other things. One of them was to eliminate the common driveway on lots 5 and 6. I know this board isn't happy with it, the Conservation Commission isn't happy with it, and frankly, we weren't happy with it, so we've been working to eliminate the common driveway and have each lot have their own driveway, and we're very, very close to doing that, and I'd like to show you how we propose to do it. We're extending, the reason for the common driveway is the infiltration basin has taken up so much space. But we've noticed that we have additional space in this area here, and we've elongated the infiltration basin so to give us more storage. So now we're able to move this edge of the basin over which will allow Lot 6 to have its own, actually, right now, it's a 15-foot driveway, we show a 14, but it may end up being a 14, but it's their own 14-foot driveway.
So you want that whole thing in 14 feet?
Yes, yeah, but we're extending it back quite a ways.
How many?
We're extending it back. Let's see, we've got to stay.
Let's get narrow.
Oh, yeah, it's getting narrower. Something like that. So that's one of the things we've been working on.
Now, John, just so I'm, this is the lot in question that you're concerned about?
Right,
the driveway?
exactly.
And this looks to me like we're seeing two separate driveways. Is that, am I wrong on that?
No, you're right.
Okay, so,
Well, except that, don't forget, now this is a duplex, so
Yes.
they're both using the same driveway.
okay, so in other words, the driveway to this property actually is this.
Exactly.
And by moving this back, you're gonna give them access directly in here, is that what you're saying?
No,
No?
no.
Okay.
Right now, it's a common driveway.
Yeah.
They're sharing it with Lot 7.
Yep,
Okay, and it just makes a tougher situation.
3.0 roof from the shovel.
Well, that's one thing.
All right, so you've got this driveway here,
Will remain up to here.
up to there.
Exactly.
And services that one, right?
That's right, and-
that's the only one it does.
Exactly.
Because this one,
This one here accesses it right from there.
And then you're gonna make a whole new one.
then you're gonna
They're
make a
gonna
whole new one
exactly.
down here.
Right,
to-
right.
To service that one.
Yep.
That one.
and the functional cul-de-sac is this line, is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what you have, so to get back here, we drive into here and then we go down here,
Right.
and you'll have this, and it'll be, these will sit right alongside each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Will there be any divider between the two driveways?
Yes,
You know,
I
like a
think
strip
about
of
a
land or
4-foot
something?
grass strip.
Yeah. How many teams that?
Neither one of those will be affordable, right?
Well, actually, we don't know which ones right now are affordable and market.
I'm just wondering if they're gonna be affordable, and the people probably won't be able to afford to shovel the driveway, because the driveway shovel will be that long.
Well, that's a good point. Then we could make these market rates. That's an excellent point.
Okay, well, I consider that an improvement, I don't know.
Well, and we, we were never satisfied with it, so we put an effort, and like I said, we're very, very close. We've done the computations for the drainage basin, the extended drainage basin, and they seem to work out, and we're planning to submit them to the Conservation Commission early next week.
Okay.
So, is everybody gonna be happy with the width of the street going down? Because it's actually gonna be used for that.
I mean, this
50
right in
acres
here.
going up, now going right through it. Going through to go into the other 50 acres.
150.
150? Oh, God. Oh, my God, well, we'll put a 2-lane highway in there.
Here,
Well, not necessarily, that would be the only access.
you need nothing,
I like this street, take it out, that corner, going that guy's property. Goes way in about 20 feet.
well, he says it's town property.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Part of, that would take care of, for safety, it would take care of this whole bad corner.
Right, all that's
Going
going
in
down.
20 feet.
All that
that's
is,
coming down.
Oh, okay.
okay,
I talked to the owner, he was happy with Russell Columbus.
yeah.
Right down that hill. Right. That's a bad corner.
How
Matter
wide,
of fact,
how
one
wide,
day,
how wide is this pavement?
pavement says meets the regular planning board standard of 26 feet.
26 feet. So 2 vehicles can pass.
It's more than enough for 2 vehicles, right?
One is a no-way parking, so. Is that, what's the width up to the country club? That's 26? That is now. You wouldn't think about it, the country club? That is now the street.
Going into the country club.
Yeah.
It is narrow?
Yeah. I think you're talking, I mean,
One-way traffic.
well, you can go in, no, it's two ways. You can go in, I mean, you still can go and go out the other way, but it's two way, you can go in and out. Yeah, it's a narrow street, I mean, I don't know. And you know, when you have company,
But that's private way. That's a private way.
conduit, I'm thinking, yeah,
It's a community, it's a community.
but, right, yeah. But I mean, still, if the planning has that, we should, we could be thinking of making it a little wider to the south. You know, fire trucks going down there, and try to go around, you know?
Well, that's not on here.
No, it's not on this, I'm just saying, I'm just concerned about, I'm just thinking about the width of this to the 150 acres. And you're gonna come out on,
Well, there's a couple other access points out on Weathersfield Street.
oh,
There's the Moran property that we've been in negotiations with, if you know where he lives, up near the Girl Scout property, which, that'd be the best place, long-term access. And there's another access off Weathersfield Street, halfway down between Dodge Road and the Moran property, that I believe the Herricks own. So like I said, we plan to file that chapter 61 early next week and respond to the Conservation Commission comments early next week. And they'll have to review the change in the infiltration basin.
yeah.
I'd appreciate if I could get a copy of those comments,
Which comments?
the ones that you were reading from Netter.
These are your, well, those were our questions.
Yeah, those are just our questions to her. They're not comments from her.
Oh, I thought, oh, okay, oh, that was from a telephone conversation, I see, okay.
Well, that was generated from our last meeting,
I see.
from our conversations here. We presented those to her in an effort to help have her clarify for us some of those issues.
Well, if I could have a copy of it, it might be helpful in addressing some of the issues.
Well, I think where we got left with that conversation, which Don and I had with her yesterday, over those specific issues, but in general, is that at this point, I mean, we're glad to hear that you're going forward with the ROFR with the town. But we recognize that neither you nor we have any control on how quickly the Board of Selectmen are gonna act.
Well, they have 120 days,
But I would assume they'll consume 119,
or probably. Probably.
which is their right.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
But and that puts us into, where are we now? 6, 4, 10, October, November at best, with a position on that. What Edie recommended we do is the letter that we gave you in May, to which, of last year. You responded with them more recently with between that time and last month, a number of issues, and you gave us a letter outlining your response to various articles of information that we still wanted. In looking at that May 16th, 2013 letter, the areas that I think what the board wants to consider doing simply is we're gonna draft a letter for you and present it to you for the remaining things that we would like to have you provide us. We never got a traffic study. We'd like to get the H&W report, whether it's in Concom, wherever it is. We've never seen it on the groundwater. Town council still advised us that that was a relevant element of the application.
What's the issue on the groundwater?
We just want to know what Concom's positions are. You stated in our minutes, in our May minutes, it indicates that you said that Mr. DeCoulis states he has received reports from Hosley and Whitman agreeing with his changes to the infiltration system calculations. Says he's surprised Concom hasn't sent a ZBA copy. That was in May. There's something in here that I just saw that suggests that Concom is holding a hearing in July.
Right.
Is that right? Here it is.
Yeah.
The Raleigh Conservation
Got it
Commission.
right.
Okay, meeting Tuesday, consider this for continuance. So that's been continued to the July hearing.
Right.
Okay, so we don't have whatever that exchange actually was. I think the board would like to see, because we will need to communicate with town council, what you said, and if that is sufficiently clear for us to take some action based upon what's in there, because she felt that was still an important element of the application.
The groundwater?
All of it, yeah. Because she couldn't understand how you could contemplate going forward with a project without having Concom's approval of your groundwater infiltration plans.
Well, Horsley and
Which
Witten.
it sounds like you have, we just don't see it.
I know, Horsley and Witten has approved the latest revision to the infiltration basin #1, which is up front, where we've added a number of perforated pipes that are underground. We dug test holes, we submitted the results of the test holes with our application, and Horsley Witten reviewed them, and they approved it.
Okay. Well, I think what we're gonna do is what it was recommended we do is draft a letter that's current to this year for the few remaining items that we would like to have addressed, including that. And since you're aware of them, they're either in process or they've been out there. Choose either a 30 or 60 day period for which you can respond with that. I think I would prefer 30 as opposed to 60, because if we can do that in the July meeting, you have it into us in August, and then I think after August we take action with the intent of drafting a decision regardless of the Board of Selectmen's action. I mean, that will give them
if you're into them next week, that'll give them, they will have had the matter in front of them for at least 60 days. Certainly they'll have some sense of what they want to do. And then get a decision, I think probably by October, maybe, or November.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just kind of a technical point, but the applicant's representative asked for a copy of the request to our representative, and have it, because it was already read into the record, I would hate to see down the road any kind of appeal from what this board might do based on the failure to give them a copy of that, since it's already a public record. So I do think, consider giving him a copy of that, so that there's no question.
I think it's a valid point. I mean, since it's a matter of public record.
It's been read into the record.
Right, yeah, I know it, yeah.
Sound makes it
Okay,
perfect.
thank you. One other thing about the applicant, the original applicant was a fellow by the name of Jay Jones, who built 2 or 3 houses on Cross Street, between, well, they're on the right side if you leave here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the poor guy passed away, he's a young fellow, 55, had a heart attack, and that was it. And then Mr. Frangus came along, and he is now the applicant. Neither one of them have owned the property. We submitted the original letter to Mass Housing with Jay Jones's name on it. They approved it. We sent a follow-up letter when Mr. Frangus became the applicant, and they approved that. So that should be in their records. I'm pretty sure it is.
So that's the basis of your thinking that not the property owner can be the applicant, but that the developer could be.
Right, and it's
the
not
applicant.
unusual. In subdivisions, the applicant is usually a developer, and the owner of the land is another person, another entity. That's the usual case on subdivisions.
I don't think that's the question. I think the issue is, and you're right, it's in the record evidently, is as long as the developer so named does not have to have the eligibility letter issued to them. If Mass Housing says, that's fine.
Right, yeah.
And then it's, I think we just need to be sure that the application
Well, I think when
process
you
is
check,
correct.
I know that it's in their records because I checked with them some time ago on some other question, and they have it in their files.
Do you know in the letter, is it your recollection, John, in their issuance of that eligibility letter that they make specific reference to Mr. Frangos or originally to Mr. I don't remember Mr. Jones being on it originally. I don't remember that name, but
Yeah.
I mean, we have it too. I mean, we have it on file so we can find it. But is your recollection that there's specific reference to them? Or because it's addressed to them? Is that what you're saying? Because I don't know if just because it's addressed to them, that means that gives them the eligibility. I don't know what the law is.
Well, I forget, but I know on the original letter of eligibility, Jay Jones's name was on it as the applicant, not the owner.
No, that may have been way back, but before it came to the zoning board, the only applicant that we heard was Franco's.
Possibly, I can't recall whether Jay Jones was at the first meeting. I can't recall.
I don't believe so. When did he pass? Do you know? Do you know when he died?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head, but
I mean, was it after 2010? Because he may not have been alive when this came before the board.
I can't remember.
I mean, it's a simple enough thing to verify, but I don't recall the gentleman's name. I just remember Mr. Franco, so
I
he
see.
did attend the meeting. I remember meeting him, he came here one time.
Right, yeah, but that was not at the first meeting.
No.
Right.
No,
I can't,
it's possible because the first meeting had about 40 or 50 people here. That was a heavily attended meeting.
right.
I know that it has been general practice that the developer would be, okay? But in this case, it was Mr. Franco's, who is the developer, but he doesn't hold his letter of eligibility.
Well, I think his name is in the Mass Housing's file.
Well, that's what Edie is going to confirm. If it's in the file, what the status of it is in the file, and exactly whether or not the condition which you're representing exists is in fact a valid basis for preparing an application for the town board. And as long as that's the case, then that issue becomes a moot point, that's all.
Right, we got a letter from, Brent. And it is to, John DeCoulis and Bruce Tompkins from the Conservation Commission. Their applicant and applicants representing the Raleigh Conservation Commission at the notice public meeting on Tuesday, June 17th, 2014. Considered your request for a continuance. The commission voted to continue the above subject application agenda item to the commission's meeting on Tuesday, July 8th, 2014. Submittal date for receipt of submittals relating to your agenda item is June 23rd. Agenda times are assigned when the agenda is composed after the submittal date. Agenda distribution usually occurs a week prior to the meeting. And it reads here, continued notice of intent for land off Daniels Road, lot 9, parcel 23, Tompkins and Stratton's Trust, Bruce Tompkins trustee, proposed construction of 6 duplex dwellings with associated roadway, driveways, utilities, stormwater facilities, grading possibly within 100-foot buffer zone, bordering vegetation. Please contact the office if you have any further questions. Now, that was sent to Mr. DeCoulis. Now, I want you to tell me what we're talking about.
Well, they have jurisdiction if we're within 100 feet of wetlands. And they're talking, I believe he said 6?
Yep.
And this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 1, 2, 3, 4 are not under their jurisdiction because they're outside the buffer zone.
This one, this one, this one.
Yeah.
This one.
Exactly.
All
Right.
Are the septic systems within this buffer zone?
No. Septic systems have to be outside the buffer zone.
Where's
Okay, is this, where, show me, you got so many lines here.
I
Is
know,
this the
right.
buffer zone?
Yes, it is, right. Yep. Yep. See, the septic systems here, there are test holes, they're out front. And And this one here is out back.
That's the buffers,
The dotted line,
That's the 100-foot buffer zone, and I've also put in a 50-foot buffer zone. But this line here is the 100.
But this house actually is built within the buffer zone.
Right.
Buffer zone
Yes, yeah.
goes through this one.
Right.
And actually, the septic system goes through it.
No.
There it is, right there, and you get the septic system right there.
The septic system's gonna be just outside of it.
what do you,
As you own.
Yeah, we're gonna- Right. Right.
That was original.
Yeah, right. That's this one.
What was that?
Just saying that one of the original application, just showing who the owner was.
Oh. The owner's always been a trust. And the other thing I'd like to remind the board is that when Mr. Frangus takes title, when and if, he has to, would go to a bank for a mortgage, they're gonna research that, not with a magnifying glass, with a microscope.
Yeah.
And if there's a flaw in the title, there's gonna be a flaw in the title, and all our, like you said before, all our efforts would have been wasted. So we've been very, very careful with the deeds, and I spent a lot of time giving you a deed location plan, and I've given you copies of the deeds. I think one of them even goes back to 1850, maybe,
Yeah, they date,
1850.
yeah, there are some town records there that date some of the old deeds.
So, I believe we've done our homework in that area, because it'd be crazy not to do it, to have a
No,
clear
no,
title.
the only thing, have you, John, the only thing Edie pointed out to us is there a recent survey of the lot? Do we have a recent survey of the actual lot involved here? Does the plot plan of the lot, is that recent?
You mean the whole, the
The
perimeter?
whole- Yeah, the whole perimeter.
Oh, yes, yeah.
We do.
Oh, yeah, because the perimeter is the wetland, and we have flagged the wetlands, and the Conservation Commission has approved it.
Okay, and we have a plan showing a stamped plan.
I don't know if it's stamped, but I can take care of that in a few minutes.
Okay, no, we just, we're likely to want to make sure we have a stamp plan.
Right.
Because if we have a stamp plan, then at least we can say, I think your point's a valid one, because when it comes to actually acquiring the property, the bank's team will look at the title, and they won't do anything if there's the slightest shadow anywhere.
Exactly.
Well, but your decision will also be contingent upon
Right,
valid conveyance.
right. And approval. Exactly. Okay.
Anything else you got for us?
No, I guess that's about it.
Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we continue the hearing until July, at which time we will provide the applicant.
July 17th, is that what it is?
I have a letter requesting that.
Okay, great.
Okay. Just asking us, why do we continue the hearing on July 17th, 2014? Okay. Do I hear a motion to accept
So move.
Second. Motion's been made to accept this letter that, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
So now I need a motion to continue here.
I'll move that we continue the hearing to July 17th as requested by the applicant, at which time the board provides to the applicant the final draft of request for any remaining missing data for the file.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Good night, John.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, do we have any other business?
We have,
I don't think so, no.
any other business?
I was trying to think, is that-
I did speak to Peter Carpentier on the phone. A very nice conversation.
Do you know who he is? Do you know who he's talking about? Would you refresh the board?
Okay.
I don't think so, no.
Peter Carpentier used to be on this board. Okay. Years ago.
Hasn't spoken.
And I happened to run into him today. I asked him if he'd like to be back on the board. And I said, it's a social member. We thought about it. And he says, yeah, I think I can do that again. So, we've had some miscommunication along the way. So what he is going to do is he is going to write a letter to the selectmen, asking them to appoint him to the zoning board associate. And I have invited him to July meeting. All meeting. And at that point, we're all in agreement. We would write the letter to the selectmen requesting that appointment. Just like we did with that. Okay?
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, you got a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.